Okay, so this is our last event in the graduate program application series. My name is Bharat Rathod. I am the Assistant Director of Inclusion and Engagement at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and I am the founder and coordinator of this group, Bahujan Scholar. And the group is so we have graduate students, faculty, and professionals from academia outside India, mainly outside India. And the goal of the group is to support Bahujan Scholar, build networks, mentoring, and organize online events on academic and professional topics. So today we have very few participants. So let me first introduce our panelist. Our first panelist is Durgesh. So Durgesh Solanki is a PhD candidate in the Department of Sociology at Johns Hopkins University, and his research interests lie at the intersection of medicine and health, race and caste, and social inequality. Durgesh's current research focuses on how skin color and race are conceptualized and contested in dermatological education, practice, and associations. His previous work has examined the relationship between plague outbreaks and colonial governance in the late 19th and 20th century, and the persistence of caste-based sanitation work in India. Durgesh holds MA and MPhil degrees from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And the second panelist is Suraj Sahu. Suraj is a PhD candidate at University of California, Merced in the Department of Physics. His research interest is in computational biophysics, where he studies cardiovascular development and multicellular networks. He got his master's from NIT Roorkela in physics. Suraj is also active in teaching and science outreach. Being a first generation learner, he has been involved in mentoring students who come from the diverse background. So I would encourage or invite anyone, Suraj or Durgaz, whoever wants to go first.
Do you want to go first, Suraj, or should I go first?
Um, I don't have a presentation, so it'll be mostly a bunch of points that I would like to make. Do you have a presentation or?
I don't have a presentation either,
Okay.
so I'm happy.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Yeah, if you want me, I can go first. So I'm gonna present like for 25 minutes and then.
Yeah. So both panelists will present around 15 minutes, and then
Okay,
we'll open up
perfect.
for the question answer and the comments.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, I can go first. So hello. I I actually I initially I thought I was like I'll give a bunch of resources that will be helpful for students and what are the things how to do it. Then I realized maybe there are certain sort of myths surrounding graduate applications that people do not think about before applying. So maybe it would be better to clear those myths. And resources regarding graduate applications for PhD, especially that I know about, are usually very much available online. There are so many videos, YouTube videos, and so many international students who have been coming here in this new age. So people have been posting about those things in their blogs a lot. Um, and I have those collected those resources which I can share later as a document that will be much more helpful to students. I try to streamline it as much as possible, declutter it, but I think what would be better is sort of think about what are the goals in terms of that the students want to pursue for the PhD. Yeah, so let me go to the first point. The first thing that I think the first and foremost thing that people graduations should really think about before applying is whether they do want to do a PhD or not. And I think that's a very important question to ask. And most people they do think they do they do want to do it, but at the same time there is a lack of awareness in terms of what PhD requirements, what PhD is for. Um, Usually it's always a career pressure or this sort of passion that they want to follow for higher education, but at the same time they do not weigh in the cost and benefits of those applying to those cost and benefits in doing a PhD. So I think it's a different sort of conversation, and we should have that sort of make aware of what PhD is for and how PhD can really help students in their career advancement. But having answered that and assuming that okay, we know okay, we really want to go for PhD, um, you know, the first thing that I think one should understand is how graduate applications work. And as today's topic is understanding the whole process of graduate application preparation. So I think the first thing in order to do that is to understand how graduate applications works. So I'm coming from a department which is it's physics. It's a very so University of California is a MSI, which is minority serving institution. So usually we have people from various backgrounds, and majority of the students are Hispanics, which are coming from very low economic and low social representation backgrounds. But at the same time, we are in the part of UC, which has a ton of resources and stuff. But the thing is, in order to understand how you should prepare for the application, you should also like think about what they're really looking for, what they really want. And let me tell you the two things that are kind of very important that I realized much later is that not all all universities have the same criteria or same goals in what they're looking for. On website, you might find bunch of requirements and bunch of eligibility criteria, but just because you met them doesn't mean that they will wholeheartedly accept you. At the end of the day, acceptance of graduate applications all depends on funding, how many students or how many space that they have that they can take. Your selection doesn't mean that you are the best of like you are the deserving one, or your rejection doesn't mean that you didn't deserve one. So let's understand that. Just because let's say you apply for some university and you got rejected, that doesn't mean that you are not good enough for that role. And this is something that I didn't realize. I thought when I got my first rejection from an university, I think I'm not good enough for that particular PhD program, which is not the case at all. Uh, Again, it is all determined by the funding, the availability of availability of the faculty that they're ready to take students. So if stars didn't align for you, if things didn't work, that doesn't mean that you are not the best student in the pool or something. Moreover, um, it has been clearly shown just because. So yeah, so let me come to the point. The point is that so in order to understand the graduate application, in order to understand how the system works, so essentially hack the system to understand okay what they're really looking for. Try to be very strategic in applying. I think the best thing in order to do in graduate application is strategizing how you should really put the less effort to actually get the best out of your whole process. So usually this is how it happens. You guys can correct me. Maybe it is something different at your university. At least at my university, what happens in the first round of applications, the first round, you actually send your application. Let's say the graduate department sort of collects all those applications. They essentially they check is okay if this application is complete or not. That means the student is um, um, meeting those eligibility criteria. Let's say you have enough GPA or enough something, and then that's that. Then what they do is they forward it to the department faculties. Department is the one who decides whether they really want to take students, how many students they can take. So every year, in the beginning of January or December, or in the beginning of January or February, or maybe a year before, the graduate division essentially says, hey, how many students can you take this year? The faculties are like, okay, I can take one student, or I can take two students, I can take three students. So you see the number varies a lot. Obviously, the average is kind of okay. They usually stays like around, let's say, in my department, which is kind of a small, so it is like 10, but it can fluctuate a lot. And it has been fluctuating a lot ever since because after the pandemic, things have been going in different directions. So it is very hard to predict how things are going. But you can actually but that is something that is out of your hand, out of your control. So don't worry about that much. You just apply. You just give your best shot. And if it works, it works. If it didn't work, that doesn't mean that it's not for you or you didn't deserve for it. It's just that it didn't work. That's all. So again, it's um uh so yeah. So the first so the fact that you applied, and now the what happens is the application sort of circulates within the faculties, within the admission committee. Sorry. So there is like bunch of faculties who will look at the applications and look how strong you are. Now at the end of the day, it is either the decision committee or the faculty that you have selected for your PhD that you want to work with. They decide whether they really want to take you or not. Now this is where there is no. It's not like entrance exam criteria where you met, okay, you are good enough and you are highest. At the end of the day, it's more about holistic approaches of looking at the application. It's like you have a bunch of things. First, there's letter of support. Sorry, it's the letter of support. That is the letter of recommendations, which you need. I think three in physics. I think we need three. You need a good research experience. That doesn't always necessarily translate to a publication. A good research experience is also good. Having a publication is sweet. Then your grades, and then um, your GRE. I think we exited from GRE. That means we don't require GRE now anymore. I don't know if other universities do. So that brings to the second point, that you are responsible for going to the university website and figuring out, okay, what are the criteria? Do they really need a GRE or not? If they don't need a GRE, then don't go for giving one, because 13,000 rupees is like too much to give. So try to save that money. So yeah, so as I said, grades, publication history, recommendations. I think these three are the things that are most important. I'm not sure if others disagree. And TOEFL and those English criteria, those are not. They don't really say anything. They just say that, okay, you know English and you can speak it. Even if you don't really have good TOEFL score, you can actually get in. And because my TOEFL score was really bad, my English, I don't know, they thought my English was not really good. So they gave me a phone call and asked me whether, just had a conversation, and they checked whether I can probably speak or not. And that happened after the admission. So TOEFL is just a criteria. I feel like that they want to keep it so that they can filter out, which is I don't think it's a fair, but okay, we can't do anything about it. So now grades are hard to quantify in the sense that I'm coming from NIT Rourkela. My CGPA is, let's say, 7. That is not same as someone coming from some other universities with a GPA 8 or something. And grades are always relativistic. Grades are not like hard sort of cutoff boundaries, hard cutoffs. So usually faculties have hard time to really determine how can a grade be a reflective of students' performance. Usually, the more the better. That is true, but it is not a criteria. So throughout my whole life, my academic career, I had horrible grades, my average grades. Like I would score like around 65% in most of the subjects. I had failed in so many courses because I had ADHD. So for me, going to exam, doing something it was a pain. But what things can set you out is essentially a good recommendation letters and publication history. If you show in your statement of purpose, which you write, that okay, I gave my wholehearted effort in trying to get some research experience. I know you are coming from different universities. Not all faculty will have the same sort of mentoring style to mentor you to get a research publications or not publication, or like give you a you know you might not have the resources to do good research internship, let's say. But and I think that's a very unfair thing to ask as well, because doing research in NIT Rourkela, doing research in NIT TTC can be very different I got lucky because I had someone who was a really supporting faculties who had like some good who had a good research expertise. What you can do is what you can do is you can actually apply for summer internships and be cautious about, sorry, be thoughtful about how you want to do research, what topics you want to work on. And I think the first and foremost thing about applying for a PhD is actually thinking about what research they want to really work on. And that takes a lot of time and that takes a lot of mentoring as well. I think it is great to ask a lot of people, a lot of your peers, and a lot of network to figure out what you want to work on. But having said that, if you have a good research experience, even for a year or a summer, and that translate to a draft, which is a report that can later go for a publication, or it can be you have something to show that okay, I have done this experience, I have written this. This is good enough in many cases. At least I'm talking about those universities which are like not high rankers or mid rankers, and I'll come to the university rankings later. But at least having something that you can show, hey, you know what, I did this research and I want to do this more in my future. Will you take me? That's a good sign that you are really dedicated about this. And of course, coming to third, which is recommendation letters. And recommendation letters can really make you or break you. The reason I'm saying is that I know it is a very unfair system of how things work, in the sense that sometimes you don't have a good set of recommenders who can like really write a good recommendation letters. And I know that is something that is not under your control all the time. But if you have really at least two people who can really vouch for you, who can really write strong recommendation letters, who can really say that okay, this student is really good at these things, he's really well. Like again, let's say you are a master student and you are not going to be expert in research, and the admission committee is not also looking that you are a really great research, you have done everything, you figured it out. No, no, no. They are looking at the fact that are you interested in learning? Are you interested in like figuring out? Are you the one who is putting effort in figuring out a question? Are you engaging in discussions? Are you asking good questions? In most of my recommendation letters, three of my recommendations that I asked my faculty, and I told them, okay, I'll come to the recommendation how to apply for it, how to ask for a good recommendation letter. But uh, I most of my like recommenders, they would like give me feedbacks in terms of how I was always interested in asking questions in the class, how I was, even my questions were ill-formed, even if questions were vague, I would always make sure that I would ask questions if they would, and make my ask, asking questions is a kind of an art. Like you learn it if you ask more, and asking good questions can really sometimes surprise people and also surprise yourself because you'll be like, oh, hey, this is something I can think about, and then you can, then later, obviously, your PhD is about answering this question. So you see, PhD, like applying for PhD, we are not expecting you to be like some expert or something. We are expecting that you are willing to put effort to figure out a question, figure the answer for a question. So now recommendation is about like saying that okay, you are really good at something or we are really lacking something. And if a recommender, it can like really give you two or three, if you can get two or three good recommendation letters, which also shows in your application. That means if the faculty says that okay, this student has this research experience, and it shows in your CV, or the faculty says the student has done this, which is reflected in the grades, then only it is more holistic. That means for any statement in the recommendation letter, there should be an evidence that you have done that or did this or you have that quality, you know, and that is an honest application. That is what like they look for. Even people recommenders sometimes do write like negative things, which is like okay, the student doesn't know things. That doesn't mean that your application is bad. That means there's honesty in that sort of thing. Because my recommenders, they were like, oh yeah, the students are like really horrible CGPA, but he's really good at like doing research. So that was fine. And I have seen my own recommendation letter because I somehow I got through, came to know, and I had a very honest, open conversation with my faculty. So they told me, I knew you had a very bad CGPA and academic career, but I really took you because you were really dedicated to research. So that is fine. Now again, this is a very opinionated, biased thing that I said. It may be not be applicable for you. It is also true that I said it because it worked for me. That doesn't necessarily work for you. I also apply to universities, which is not a high-ranking universities, and but it is under UC, which is have good resources. Again, Ivy League colleges works in different operative way. I'm not an expert on that, but this comes to second point is that I don't know which number point, but this comes to the important point that do not put all of your eggs in one basket. Do not always crave for Ivy League colleges. There's a good amount of there's initial research shows that student success doesn't correlate with the rank of universities all the time. Which means just because you enter an Ivy League college, that doesn't mean that you will get a great PhD. Sometimes you'll be traumatized because the kind of people that you'll find in different universities, not everything is supportive. I've seen so many students and good friends of mine who were struggling in Ivy League colleges when they went, and they had to exit because they couldn't find a faculty who was supportive. But I also know a few friends who went to a very remote area PhD program, obviously a legitimate one. They had a really good experience. And again, PhD is about having a journey. If PhD is a journey, I want you to have a really good experience. I want you to be in a supportive environment. I don't want you to be in a toxic environment where the faculty has, like, let's say, highest Google's H-index citations, but he is not good at mentoring. What it's going to do to you? It's going to really wreck you. It's going to really create a lot of hatredness of towards academia. We want to have more. We want to welcome more people who are like yeah. I think I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna just make two more points. Yeah. So the thing that you should look for, and this is something that I really insist. Do not go to the university ranking website and try to find out which university I should go to. First, I'll send you a really good website. It's called Grad School Shopper, and it is very specifically for PhD physics. But you might some other, which is a list of universities, which has every information about their acceptance rate, how many students they really accept. Usually 50% is good. Usually 45% is also good. 30% is also good. Some universities have let's say 6% acceptance rate. That doesn't mean that you won't get it. That it's just that they only accept that much number of applications, and then maybe it is also the fact that many students apply to this. If too many students to apply to a university, why you should apply for that? Apply to universities where there is not much competition. So be strategic. It is not that you're trying to prove yourself that you are the best. This is not a game of proving who's the best. Getting at a great university doesn't mean that you can flex it on social media saying, okay, I'm the best in that. No, it's not about that. It's more about you, because again, it is not like India where people flex about, oh, I'm in IIT, I'm in NIT, so they would say, okay, I'm in the best. And doesn't I have not seen like any good indication that someone coming from IIT Madras is as smart as or as dumb or as smarter than someone coming from NIT Rourkela. Again, at the end of the day, there are big numbers, statistics do play a role, resources are finite in many differences, but you hold your education, so you are on your you have the power. So yeah, sorry, I digress a lot, but coming to the point, always try to go for a university. Sorry, always try to go to a lab. Lab is important, not a university. Lab is where you're going to spend whole your 5 years. So try to find a lab which is supportive. And how do you do that? The best way is asking a lot of grad students, asking a lot of talking to faculties, asking how their mentoring style is. Are they more hands off? That means they allow them more freedom, or are they very micromanaging? And I'm not saying any of them as good or bad. I'm saying what works for you. Do you really need a lot of hand holding because you are inexperienced in that particular field? or do you want to be more independent, or do you want to be more independent? You want to grow as an independent researcher. So whatever works for you, it's kind of a marriage between two people, and sometimes it's a lot of figuring out. So ask for a lot of grad students. Go to the admission website page. Look out for the grad students working in their lab. Go on Twitter as well. Twitter has a lot of faculties who have their profile. You can find a lot of there about how they work, how they operate in the tweets as well. You can talk to them, you can text them, you can message them. I know many welcoming faculties are always open, but faculties are again busy. If you shoot a mail, they might not reply for a month. That is totally normal, okay, because faculties are really, really busy people. But do ask students. You can also do not go for the ratemyprofessor.coms and all that. They're not always honest. And I feel that is a very demeaning to the faculty itself, because faculty sometimes put a lot of effort and that doesn't always translate to a rating. So I mean, you can go for it, but I really discourage that. It's a very personal biased opinion, but anyway, whatever works for you to find how the faculty works, go for it. And just don't look for the H-index or like Google index. Okay, they have like 1,000 papers published. That is not a, that doesn't say anything about how they mentor students. Okay, obviously a productive lab has like good papers, but see, you be more thoughtful and cautious about how how you are assessing a faculty under whom you want to work. Okay, so go for supportive PI who can guarantee that you will get funding. One, that means they will put you on research grants. Not all faculties have funding, so they will all might put you on TA, like be a teaching assistant, which I have done at least half of my TA as a teaching assistant because I love teaching. So, but if teaching is not something of your interest, so just look for faculties who has grants. You can talk to them, you can ask them, you can shoot them a mail. And I was supposed to say, like, I was supposed to go like about how you should be emailed to faculties. Maybe I can do that later. But yeah, the last thing that I want to mention, cost of living is really important. If you apply to a university and they don't give you good funding, that means let's say you apply to Arizona State University and they give you $1,500 to live for a month. It's your life gonna be horrible. You will not be saving any money. You won't be able to spend any money, send any money to home. You'll be struggling. You'll be living on like really bad conditions or bad apartments. So always, I know many students don't think about this, but please do think about cost of interest, like also cost of living, where you want to live, how much money they are paying, how much money that you're getting at the end of the day after taxes and all that. And you can just ask them, say, how is the living conditions is good? Because having good living conditions is good for your mental health. That will help you in focusing on research. So yeah, so as I said, what you should look for is a supportive PI, funding, a good environment, and the universities has enough resources and opportunities, because as I said, not all universities or all departments have the same network like opportunities. That means they may not provide good environment for networking or going for conferences. Like going for conferences, you need money. So sometimes departments give you a lot of money. Certain departments don't give money because they don't have any. So do ask the grad students about, hey, how much is a department giving you, funding for travel awards or something like that. And obviously, again, topic of interest is important. So be sure about like you really want to work on this topic. And I know many students do this mistake, and it makes me really sad is that they are very specific. That means they want to work on quantum information in noise environment or something. And they're always so specific that they are limiting their options. They are not open to other research areas. And they think that whatever you work for your PhD is going to be staying with you for the rest of your life. Utterly wrong. A PhD is a platform. So sometimes when you go for higher education, your PhD topic of interest people might not even ask for that. But it is important to have a wide set of options and showing wide set of interest. Okay, you know what? If I want to work on, let's say, biophysics, I'm also interested in working experimental or theory. Mentioning those in SOP and being a little bit more flexible about your research topic. If you, let's say, end up in a research department and they don't have the topic of interest that you have, but you have something related, switch to that, pivot. Like always learn how to pivot, be strategic. about those things. I think I took way too much time, so I'm gonna stop. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. So I understand, when you share your ideas, then it sometimes it go longer. But thank you so much, Suraj, for touching key points, and certainly we will come back again and cover some other points because I also taken notes. So hopefully we will cover those points. Now I would invite Durgesh, please, whatever presentation or
Yeah.
ideas, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Suraj, and thanks, Bharat, for inviting me here. So I would like to start from where Suraj left, kind of like. So Suraj was talking about like why PhD, like do a cost benefit analysis. I would say go beyond this cost benefit analysis, right? Like why you want to do PhD is very essential. Like how engaged you will be. So it's PhD is a long-term commitment. It's like a minimum of 5 years, and it could go up till like 8 years as well, like especially in social sciences. So are you willing to commit on a research topic which you can sustain for like 5 to 8 years? I think that's one of the most important thing. Like if you're not able to stick to one topic and do a research on that for 5 to 8 years, then I don't think so you should be applying for a PhD first step itself, because you might, if you lose interest midway, then it's very difficult to gain the focus again on your PhD itself. So I think that's the first question or conversation that you need to have with yourself. Like, do I want to, how interested or how invested I am in a particular topic, and will I be able to sustain and survive with this topic for 5 to 8 years? So that's first question that you should be asking yourself. I think the next part about application is the Suraj had mentioned about online application and everything. I would just add to that is like look at the individual university website thoroughly, like what are they looking for. Each university has different kind of guidelines about requirements, so maybe like SOPs 2 pages, 3 pages. Some might ask for diversity statement, some might ask for some minor changes might be there, like, oh, writing sample has to be 10 pages, writing sample has to be 30 pages. So just go through the online application, make online application portal, make notes, make a spreadsheet about it, like what are the requirements, when is the deadline, if you have contacted a person XYZ, whoever you have contacted, if you have got a response from that person. If you haven't got a response, that's also fine. It doesn't matter if the person responds or doesn't respond. The committee is going to read your application. The third thing that I want to mention about the application itself is Suraj mentioned about asking interesting question. I think that's a very critical point of like your PhD application. Like it's not about a research topic that you are talking about, right? It's mainly like what kind of creative questions or critical questions that you're asking about a research topic. So I can give an example in like social sciences or humanities. Like yes, caste discrimination exists. So I'm going to study caste discrimination. So what? Like why you want to study? Like there are hundreds of people who have studied the same phenomena. So I think you need to ask the question, so what? Like why you want to study this particular phenomena? What different perspective that you're bringing? What different theory that you're going to use? So I think it's not like you have all the answers in your SOP, because that's not what they're looking for. If you had answers, you won't be doing PhD, right? So it's about asking those critical questions and being creative about those questions. It's not about, yeah, I want to study because nobody has studied it. Nobody has studied because it's not important. Like maybe nobody cares about it. So why you want to study that topic? So I think it's all about being creative about asking questions and using different theories and different lenses to understand that perspective. I think that's a very critical thing when you are um, thinking about your application. Uh, the next thing that I want to talk about briefly is about transcripts. I'm not sure. Like Suraj mentioned about grades not being translated. I think most of the, at least in social sciences and humanities, if you are applying, like in India, the grade starts in a reverse order. Like you start giving grades, or you have done this, so you'll get like 1 grade or 2 grade. Whereas in US, it's the opposite. Like they start from 100, and then if you have not fulfilled one criteria, they'll deduct 1 point or 2 points. So I think it's a reverse order that we operate in India and US. So I think most of the faculty are aware about this, at least if you at least in social sciences and humanities, if they have any association with international international universities, or if they have done research in international which has international focus. So they are aware about this translation of grades. So I don't think so they have much weight in your application. The only thing that they're looking for is like you have done decently well, or you have been a decent student. And yeah, I think beyond that, they are not looking for anything in that. And so yeah. And if you have not done well, as Suraj mentioned, you can explain it like why you had some financial conditions or you were doing something else, and there are different avenues to explain like why you were weak student, or why it was not the best effort, but given opportunity you have done really good. So I think there are different ways to do it in your application. I think the next thing I want to talk about is GRE and TOEFL. So GRE is an exam which I think now most universities are not requiring GRE, so you can also check which universities are requiring. So I know for sure, like Rutgers University, at least in some departments in Rutgers, have stopped taking GRE scores because it creates an imbalance of like who can apply for GRE. It's very expensive exam. It's like 13,000 for just application. Then sending score will be like another $26, which would translate to roughly 2,000 rupees per university, if I'm not wrong. So it's an expensive way. So some of the universities have stopped taking GRE score, or they don't say that we require GRE scores. Um, but there are a bunch of universities which still require GRE scores. So I think you need to figure out. So some universities also mention, like I know for sure, like Columbia, at least in social sciences, mentions the minimum cutoff for GRE, and if you don't qualify, I don't think so. You should be applying to that university because they won't even be, as Suraj mentioned, like the first round of application goes through a general admission board, which we'll see all this if your application is complete, if your whatever the criteria they have for GRE, TOEFL are met, and then it will go to the admissions committee. So if you don't qualify for GRE, I wouldn't recommend applying as well. Individual department, you can reach out to them, ask them if what is the minimum GRE if you want to, but they wouldn't give you an answer if they have not mentioned it on their website. So with TOEFL, with GRE, there are three components in GRE: maths, English, and writing. So each component has two sections, and then there is one bonus section or trial section, which I think you can find more information about GRE on their website. Their website is the best resource, I feel. At least when I was taking GRE, the practice tests are really kind of precise of like where you will land in actual GRE. Like, so do take the practice test to understand how well you are doing on GRE. And I think if you're if you're if you're interested in a university where GRE is required, I think you need to start preparing at least in February or March for GRE. And then so by the time you take GRE, it would be July or August. And then you get like 15 days to get the results. By the time you get your results, probably in August or September, the application cycle starts kind of in late October or mid-October, so you have your materials ready and you're not focusing on taking GRE at the last minute when you should be focusing on your application. So I would suggest taking it in advance. And I think the GRE scores are valid for 5 years, if I'm not wrong. TOEFL consists of like four components. It's reading, writing, speaking, and I think it's listening. So I think it's 120 points, 30 for each section and 120 in total. Generally, I think this is more of a USCIS requirement, kind of, if I'm not sure, but TOEFL is not, they're not giving away with TOEFL. So all universities require TOEFL, even if you have studied in English or whatever. So, and I think there are minimum requirements for each. I think you need 20 in each section to qualify, and maybe overall it's like 90 and above to just qualify for universities. You can check individual universities, what is the qualifying scores for TOEFL. Some universities I know for sure, like Princeton and not sure where those, but at least Princeton I have seen. They have a specific criteria for TOEFL as well, because if you are teaching, they say that you need to have a certain scores in TOEFL as well. And all grad programs require to teach at least one course or be a TA in some sense. So you can't get away with teaching even if you have research funds and everything. So that's about TOEFL. Financial statement, I'm not sure it's applicable for PhD because generally most of the PhDs are funded by universities. So I think it will be more applicable for MA applications. And I haven't come across any PhD program where financial statements are asked. But so I don't know how to prepare one, to be honest. Um, I think the visa process is pretty straightforward. If you have if you have a PhD offer letter and a funding letter, I think then it should be a kind of a cakewalk at the embassy. But getting that appointment is not a cakewalk. Getting that appointment is a pain, right? Especially right now. So I think you need to that USC the US visa website keeps breaking down every time now and then. So you need to be patient with getting an appointment. If you're not getting it, if you let's say if you get an offer letter in April, your I-20 should come by May or June, depending on your university and how fast they are processing things. So you will need an I-20 to apply for your visa, for your US visa. And once you get your I-20, you should immediately try to book. And if you're not getting spots, I think they're still doing the emergency visa for student. So I haven't checked in last 6 months, but I know some friends who got in like last year. They were able to get under the emergency quota. So you can still apply in the emergency process, and they should be able to do a quick appointment within like a week or so. And yeah, and once you get there, you just like take your transcripts, take your offer letter, and that should be it. They'll just ask you few questions like which university are you funded, how are you going, and maybe a research question if they are interested. But otherwise, they won't take more than like 5 minutes of your time, or the interview won't be more than 5 minutes, I feel. That has been my case, but I can't say it's for everyone because not all officers are same and not all universities are same in the same light as well. So if you have, yeah, so I wouldn't generalize on the visa officers because they could be extremely bad at some point of time. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I want to just highlight about what Suraj was mentioning about recommendation letter is I think most of the recommenders in India, to be honest, don't end up writing the letters that are expected in the US system. It's a different, as in it's not like the Indian faculty are bad, or it's like it's a different system. As I said, the grading starts in the reverse order in India, and here the grading starts in the reverse order. So So I think there is a hidden curriculum about writing a recommendation letter as well, right? So using words like, oh, you are like a hardworking student is like kind of looked down upon, right? Like it's like you are not smart, you are hardworking kind of. So I think there's a lot to be said about how letter of recommendation should be written, and there is like a hidden curriculum about it. And so I would always give hints to my recommenders about like what I want in my recommendation letters and kind of things. So then they can use those points or like to draft a letter. So I think that's a good way to start about like having a conversation with your recommenders and getting a sense of like what they're thinking of writing and what you want them to write. So like highlighting certain incidents or events, like all recommenders may not remember everything that you have done. So like sharing your work with them, like sharing your CV with them, sharing if you have any publication or your research experience. So all those things matter a lot because you're kind of sharing the things that you want them to know about yourself, right? Like so then they can write a better letter. So like writing more about yourself doesn't harm in any way, but writing that negative thing or not writing enough may harm you in like a larger run. So I think just like I'm not sure about recommenders mentioning negative thing because generally if there is recommendation letters are not generally taken seriously, that's like a so let's say if there are 100 applications for like 5 seats, they will just read the starting, they will filter out applications. So recommendation letters would come in like when there are like ten applicants for like 5 seats. Now, what is the breaking difference point, right? Like we need to filter out more people. So they need more ways to filter out people. So if there is one negative point in your recommendation, that then kind of that's like this person is standing out. So let them be out of this race. So I think it's always about different criterias becoming important at different point of time. So I think you need to be mindful about that and having even like one negative point in that may be a make or break situation. It doesn't mean that, as Suraj said, it's not like a your application is bad or anything. It's just like the fit with the department or the kind of applicants that they were getting. It's like everyone wanted to study a certain topic and they could only admit one person for that topic, right? Like they can't admit 5 students studying the same topic. So they also want diversity in the department. I think that's another thing that is really important is when you're applying to a department, you're not applying to study with an individual faculty, at least in social sciences and humanities, because you have a team or like you have a dissertation committee. So you're studying with a committee itself. So it's not like you're associated with one faculty because they know like if the things don't work well with one faculty, it's like you'll fall back on the department. And if there is no one in the department, then you are kind of guideless or you don't have an advisor in that sense. So I think at least in social sciences and humanities, they focus on like your research interest is overlapping with at least 2 or 3 faculties in the department. Either it's methodological, either it's like research area kind of more like country specific, or it could be theoretical. So at least there is an overlap so you can have different sets of guidance from different folks and you're not just relying on one person in that sense. So I think I'll stop here and I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Dugesh, for touching some key points and also highlighting important aspects of the application process. Honestly, I mean, I have taken notes, and one of the key point before we open up for the Q&A, I would like to highlight because um, I have been doing mentoring work and I have gone through the whole master and PhD application process, and I have finished my PhD, and now I'm working in the graduate school, so I have some idea. So one aspect I would highlight is that your connection with the faculty in that particular department and university, that would really make a big difference. And I have seen in many cases, and particularly in my own case, that connection in that department with the faculty, that actually make a big difference, made big difference actually. and it makes big difference. So now we will open up for question answer. So feel free to ask question, or you can print in the chat box and you will read it out. Participants, you feel free to ask questions, or I mean, you can think about or you can write, and by the time we can, uh, touch any point, Suraj or Durgesh, you would like to highlight, which is now we think like good time to talk about.
Oh yeah, I think Durgesh mentioned one point that I really missed, and which is really good. Like in the beginning, he mentioned about like I forgot the topic. I think you did mention about the fact that like departments have like different criteria, so recommendation letter might sometimes work, sometimes may not work, which is really true. Like I feel like in the beginning, if they get 100 applications, they might not even read this recommendation letter at all because they want to easy make their job easy by rejecting. That means as long as they can like filter out as much people in small time, that's good for them because they want to go home and do something else. Because reviewing graduate application is not a fun job. But if they finally decide of 10 applications, but they have 5 seats only, then that's where they will start reading recommendations line by line.
Yeah. Okay, there is a one question from Krishna. I did my graduation in Pune University. Shall I eligible to do again graduation?
Graduation in MS.
I mean, I believe it's MS. Yeah, master.
Okay. Um, I think I would ask like, what is? I think I don't know. Masters have different criteria and all, so I have no idea about.
Durgesh, would I like to take the question?
Yeah, at least in social sciences, like we have 3 years degrees. So everyone invariably who ends up coming here, if you have not studied in Ashoka at least, or the elite private universities in India, because there it's like liberal arts, 4 years education, whereas if you study in Mumbai University or any state university, which is 3 years, at least as of now, then you have to do a master's before coming here for at least for PhD because they require a 4 years bachelor's degree in India. It's only offered by the elite universities. So yeah, I did like masters at TIS and I did an MPhil at TIS. I still did another master's when I got into grad school. So you end up doing another graduation. So if it's for masters, like yeah,
Oh.
you have to do another master's here in any case. I'm not sure the question is not clear, but if you have done a
Mm.
PhD, I'm not sure if you can if it's a different field, yes, you can do another PhD if you have some solid way to say that, oh, my first PhD was in certain field, but I want to study another field. And this is what my experiences are, and this is what I'm interested in. And yeah, it's not like people have not done it. Yeah.
Doing two PhDs is a lot.
No, no, but I
Suraj
have
Yende
seen.
is doing second PhD. So
Yeah, no, I have seen.
So,
I have my friend actually. He did PhD. Um, if I'm not wrong, or if I'm not forgetting, he did PhD in mathematics from
oh,
this
wow.
Russian region. Georgia.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Georgia. Yeah, I think Georgia. And then he did second PhD. He joined second PhD here
Oh my
at
God.
UMass in education. Yeah, so I mean
Uh,
that is the case. But okay, let's go back to the question, previous question. I believe that is for master. I believe. Not sure about PhD. Okay. Second question or
but
comment.
just
Go
one more.
ahead.
I think
Sorry.
so. If you apply for a PhD, you can actually have the option to get a master's along the way, and also you can exit with a master's if you don't want to complete your. I forgot to mention. Albert, like you will be doing 3-year masters. Uh, and I feel this is a good idea to mention that if you don't have the resources or the money to go for a master's in US, why don't you go for a PhD? You'll get the full funding and then exit out as a master's. Of course, do not mention this in your applications, like, okay, I want to do this or that. But again, why don't you be first try out a PhD? Maybe you will like it. If you don't like it, you can exit out.
And another thing is that I mean once you join as a master, I mean in master program, then honestly, I mean if you do well and if you really impress with your performance and the academics and
Hmm.
research, honestly the way for the PhD is much easier.
Hmm.
Much easier. And as you said, I think, I don't know, but some of the credits, they count in the PhD program also. So instead of like probably doing the whole PhD program, you might cut down, a couple of credits or a couple of semesters.
Hmm.
Next question, comment, please feel free.
Yeah, always look for department websites. They have a lot of information. If they don't have information, please do ask to the people. Yeah, and also Bharat said like networking with the faculty is so much important. Even I think I got my own because I had already reached out to my PI like at least 6 months ahead of the deadline, and I told them, hey, I'm interested to work with you, and they were like really vouching for me. I have seen the thread of the email where they literally, when I emailed them, they were sending pages to the direction. Hey, I need this student anyway. Or they were like, I need this student, please look into these applications. Then the graduate division will be like, they will just try to check whether you're meeting these criteria, and then it's free flowing. So, but again, like if you talk to, and yeah, that's what I think you can do. Why apply for a department where you don't know whether they will take you or not? Why don't you ask to the faculties if they are ready to, if they have an opening, they will say you. Then okay, then now you can apply. Or if you just waste your $75 unnecessarily if you don't know whether any if you didn't network with the people. And also one more important thing, many universities do give waivers on applications. So many of them. I don't know why I wasted so much money, and in sometimes I actually saved money in many departments. They actually allow you to free, and you can also say that, hey, if you accept me, I'm going to pay the money. But obviously reach out and talk to them. You can save $75 in Indian rupees is so much. Yeah.
Yeah, that is why I always recommend applicants or those who are planning to apply that please, before application, try to build that connection and I mean contact with that faculty and department. That would be very, very important and makes your work so easier from application to acceptance to recommendation to the fees and everything. Because in my case, that happened, or I did, I don't know, or both. Uh, and that really made my journey so easy. And my faculty advisor at that time, like she was supporting me in application. She actually processed the whole application process. And honestly, I didn't do much because she decided that I want to take this student. So that is very, very important to build that relation and connection prior to application, and that will help you long way. Yeah, because still my at the time advisor, ex-advisor, likes, we are connected. Still, we are doing a lot of work together, and that helped me a lot.
It can be intimidating for students to actually reach to a faculty, and if faculty do not reply within a week, the student think that they are not interested. It's just the faculties are busy. But maybe I can share a template about how to reach to a faculty, how to network. That will help a lot. Uh, yeah, if or any people, if you guys want to make a point about how to talk to a faculty in the first place.
Yeah, and particularly people like us, first generation coming from very different background, we have that fear and like how to write and they will respond or not. If they don't respond, then we get discouraged and so on. So this is very, very
Hmm.
important to learn, and that is one of the goal actually for our this platform, like how to
Hmm.
mentor them, how to tell them, even creating templates and so on, how to write it
Hmm.
and making those kind of connections, because I've seen actually senior level means at a postdoc level, people from our group community that they feel I don't feel confident to write a faculty like this. I said that's a
Hmm.
very common thing here. If you write 10
Hmm.
faculty, then hardly you will get two or three maximum.
Hmm.
This is the ratio as per my limited knowledge.
Hmm. Hmm.
Get more than three at all, because as you pointed out both, they are crazy busy people. They even,
Hmm.
honestly, this is my experience, and I heard they even sometimes don't read the papers, They just scan it, like
Yeah.
some paragraph and something here and there, probably 20% of your paper, and they grade it. That kind of busy people, right?
Hmm. And yeah, that is so true. But also, like, never use Chat GPT or AI to write an email. This is so because if you go on Twitter, faculties get angry. They will straight away ignore you. Like they will never even like reconsider ever. It is okay to have grammar mistakes here in your email, and that is fine. They don't are looking for grammar. They're not looking for. They're looking if you're a good student. That's all. Or if you're showing interest in their research work. And don't flatter people. Like don't say, "Hey, you're the great," and blah blah. I read your papers and your papers. I'm like, yeah, but like they are not like it's not gonna just be curious and just be honest about, hey, I want to work this. Will you help me about with that? And that is, I think, good enough to start point.
In the last session, I already raised this point, means we discussed this point about the
Oh,
chat
okay.
GPT, and I pointed out, now I'm repeating again here. You can use it, but please again revise it in your words, in your language, and the way you want to frame it, just for the technicality of the language, not about the content of chat GPT, because that will people can easily now read out. Any people has any doubt, they can put in the software. There are, so university uses different software to check out the plagiarism and so on. it will or within probably a couple of seconds it will pop out, like, okay, this is like, completely plagiarized or plagiarized 50%, 70%, 80%. So please don't do that. Durgesh, any last point? And probably if there is no any further question or comment, then
I
we can conclude.
don't, I think like regarding using AI or ChatGPT or any other software, I think you can you can use it to have uh give you a framework of like how to write and things, but it has to be personalized. It can't be ChatGPT writing for you or
Hmm.
ChatGPT applying for you. As in,
Even the
it,
statement of purpose, yeah.
yeah, everything has to be personalized. It can give you a structure, no matter like people use it, even faculty here or like different people use it in different ways, but it's not for writing. It's like giving you a structure, giving you a specific answers, giving you certain things. But if you're looking to automate your life, then probably you should think about PhD as well.
Even I would say whatever you said, Durgesh, I would add, even if you are a very good candidate, and that one mistake might ruin your whole application and chances.
So
Because
true.
because to impress, you might have to make like 10 points. I'm just giving a random number. But to spoil your image, one is more than enough.
Yeah, and the student also end up writing like too much paragraph in their first email. Um, Yeah, it's like very sure because the faculties don't have time. So even like 3 line of emails are good enough sometimes. Just write like, hey, hi, I want to do research with you. And don't like decorative words. I hope we are doing well and all that. Like, okay, that is important, but like not like too much of like decorative paragraphs. Just write, okay, this is what I am interested. This is what I want to do. This is what I get. Maybe I can share a template in the somewhere we can. Is there a platform where we can share like resources, like links and all that stuff?
Yeah, basically, I'm building a website, and so people shared so many, like particularly presentation and PowerPoint. So
Acha.
on the platform, whenever it will be ready, I will put all these resources and to create more resources because this is very very important for the young
Hmm.
scholar, to see and to try to learn from that templates.
Okay. Then yeah. Okay. Then we can have a specific topic about how to network with faculties. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, this last chance for the participants. If you have any comment or question, please feel free, and then we will conclude the session.
There is, I think, one. Oh, no. Okay.
So sometimes silence is good, and sometimes silence is very annoying and mysterious. Like, okay, is like people are really processing, or is like completely going out of it.
I hope we didn't intimidate like too many students about our PhD, and I know it is very intimidating process. I hope we didn't like discourage them. Please be like, we are just giving some guardrails like how to think about applications. Don't think as a discouragement. We just say the pitfall, like the things that you should not do. That doesn't mean that you should not do at all these application things. Please do apply for PhDs because I think that PhDs can really help us a lot in developing our mind. As Ambedkar says, we will have to cultivate our own minds. And PhD is a really good opportunity for that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's conclude this session. And thank you so much, Suraj and Durgesh, both for your time and wonderful points you raised in this session. And for the next session, particularly for all the our group members and other scholar, we are doing Bloomsbury book series orientation. So that is very important, and I would say kind of a great opportunity for the young scholar, to know about that. And hopefully, we will also coordinate that book series project. Hopefully, let's see how people respond and how logistically that will work. So my goal is to start that book series project with our scholar, and scholar would join over the period of time, and we will develop our scholarship because ultimately goal is about not about supporting and mentoring, but also creating our own scholarship because we have been relying on others to create our scholarship. But now it's a high time, to create our own scholarship in different area, different dimension, not necessarily in social sciences, but in sciences also, like, how we can bring the cultural aspect, how we can bring the anti-caste and caste aspects in our research. So again, hope to see you next month. And thank you so much, Jai.
Jai.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable time.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Bye.
much.